Oh, Prashant is saying that the link is not working. What links have we joined? Is it a different link or same? 5 and 7 only, right? This one only, right? So we are using Ankur and Amit. So whatever I sent you in the WhatsApp is the same link. Okay, so looks like so people has a little bit challenges and somebody has power connections and somebody is not able to try. I mean not able to log in. Let us see. Okay. So first of all, so maybe we can let's start and we will discuss. Right, Amit and Ankur, so do you have any questions for both of you? Any doubts in the last session and related to whatever we discussed? Are you able to hear me? Amit, Ankur, both of you? Okay, okay. Amit, how about you, Amit? Okay, sounds good. So now let us continue with the session. Okay, so all right. So in the last session, so if you have remembered, all of you, so what we did is so we developed a simple example. We want to try to understand how the AOPs looks like and what we are really doing a configuration. So that's what so we have been done, right? So until the last session, so we have seen before advice how it is exactly being working, so and how the after advice is able to run. So when I go to clients, so from the client if I run the client class, so we have been seeing that so both we are able to run it, right? So both the aspects has been so both the advices are been applied, so without knowledge of the client class, so without knowledge of your beam class, so it is able to apply the aspects. All right, so hopefully you all remembered what is aspect, so what is advice, what is point cuts, right, and what is joint point, right? And we are only left with the discussion of the few other the advices, and maybe we can stop with that AOP. Okay, and let me try to also give you with other examples as well, and then possibly we can close it soon. Okay, I'm just running the example. I just want you to recollect the knowledge of what we have done so far. Okay, so our cave owner is the class which is aspect class, and I've written a point cut even in the last session, and I showed you how the point cut has been applied. Okay, for to respective all the methods. The execution has been started, and so it is been applied before advice. Okay, then the method is been executing. So then after that, so it will apply once if it is done. See here, after advice is also executed. Likewise, each and every method is applied. For each and every method it is applying, means each and every client is trying to browsing the internet, so it is able to apply both before advice as well as after advice, right? Even from employee who is carrying with the name with his parameter and all that parameter details and complete method information being captured with the help of only join point. So join point is the capable for to retrieve the complete your method information, including a fully qualified class name, and place along with the your list of arguments. Everything has been captured, and then it is able to display here, right? So that's the beauty of this. Okay, so now moving on into the other advices. So we will try to discuss with other advices as well. And and before even going to the other advices, maybe I can even apply to, suppose now I have only customer bean. In the future there is a one more bean coming into the owner bean. So does it also applies to the other beans, or it only applies for customer bean? The answer for this is, so irrespective of the bean you are belongs to. Okay, if your expression is a very generic expression and the expression is actually matters. Okay, if your expression is going to be matching, and then it applies across the project and across your the packages, irrespective of the bean. So let me try to show you practically. Suppose I have a bean called owner bean. So can this owner bean also going to be, so can this owner bean can also the applies the AOP? Let us try. So if I want to get the owner bean, how do I get it? So simply context dot get bean. So I have a owner bean. Okay, so let me call this owner bean. I'll copy this line. Okay, paste it. So name of the bean which I have given is owner. Okay, I want to look up the same name. Okay, so name of the bean is owner bean. I'll copy this name, I'll paste it accordingly. Okay, and he is our owner, right? This is our owner object, and simply what I can do here, and after this, so owner dots, and I even can browse the net. A owner also can browse the internet. Okay, so owner, okay, dot browse owner, and like let's say, so owner I'll mention like Durga Soft. Okay, Durga Soft I just mentioned, so owner name is Durga Soft. So now if you see here, so I'll just run this code, and I would expect even to apply without making any changes in my aspect. So without making any changes in my bean class, so I would even expect to apply the my AOP even to all these methods as well, means including customer bean as well as owner bean also. Have a look at the output so very carefully. So I have given a delay is 15 seconds. So for to execution, the browsing I have given for each and every method is 15 seconds. So we are still in customer bean. So okay, it will execute in a sequential order. So the first employee is completed with parameters and then signatures, and the second employee is trying without any arguments. Okay, and then he is also completed, and we have a student is executing. So student with employee, student with no arguments, and then so he is also started browsing. So once he is completed, I would expect even it should apply for customer also. No, it is not applied for Durga Soft. If you see, the Durga Soft is started and browsing of the internet by the owner. Okay, internet is using by the owner, but it is not applied any AOP. Why? Maybe a signature of method might be different. If you see, this is a public method, a string browse owner. And if you see the rest of other customer bean is methods is protected methods. And what is the signature what you have written here? It should be only protected methods. So you are applying. You are only applying for protected methods, but not any other methods. And this method is returning a return type is string. This method return type is string, and this method does not having any return type. So the signature is not matching. That is the reason it is not applied. Okay, how do you make, okay, I want to ignore the signature also. How do you make that? So simply make a star. Simply make it as a star. Okay, so I think it should be a star. Let me try to compare with my local history. Okay, I want to just to see an expression how it is looks like. Interesting. I lose the history. Okay, no problem. So we can try that. Okay. So I'm hoping that should be a star. Okay. I'm hoping that that should be star. I think only star. Okay. So what I'm seeing the expression is, but we can still look at. We can run this client class. Meanwhile, I'll open. I think I have somewhere on the reference. Okay. So we'll run it and then so we'll see so whether that is going to be executing or not. If there is anything wrong, it will give you. I think it is applying. I guess it is applying. Okay. So let me get it even my somewhere. I'm hoping that so that should be applied. Okay. Let me. I think we have imported from somewhere. I don't remember where we have imported. Let's see. If from somewhere we have imported that. I think so from here we have imported, right? So here is our kphono.java. Let me open this guy. Okay. So here is the list of expressions which we have defined. So that is there. So now if you see, I think whatever we have written is correct, right? So it is been applied or not? Even it is also applied for your owner bean. Okay, the same thing is even also applied for your customer bean as well. The customer bean is in applied even for owner bean. So which means that, so what you need to understand, so irrespective of, okay, the beans you are been writing, so if it is the syntax is been matching or the expression that you have defined is matching, so it is able to pick up all the beans. It doesn't matter where that is belongs to. Okay, that's the beauty of this. Okay, and completely this method name is different and this method name is different, but however still it is able to access it, right? And including signatures, parameters of the method, everything has been retrieved. Okay, so that is about your the advices. So the before advice, after advice, how to use the point cut expression, so then joint point and defining aspects. So this is what the well-known things which you have to use in any application. If you want to apply it, very commonly we use is only all this four. Okay. Any questions so far? And before we move on to the other advices, any questions? Okay, sounds good. No questions. And now let's move on into the another advice, okay, which I have here. I'll try to copy this. Okay, so we have another advice called after returning advice. Okay, after returning advice, and we will see. Okay, so let me show you after returning advice. I'll just copy this because I want to save some time here. Don't want to write unnecessarily. So okay, after returning advice. So what is after returning advice? Okay, the after returning advice, I want to calculate the bill and then I want to share it with customer. So that is my advice. Whenever if I make any changes in the advice, I will least bother about my client classes. So which is nothing but my customer bean and owner bean, I will least bother about it, and I will apply this as it is. I will apply this to as it is. So which means that, so only thing what is actually been controlling is your aspect class. Wherever you have defined in the aspect, so that's the major class. And so without even looking at your existing implemented classes, existing implement bean classes, you are being working out of your bean classes. The only thing is you should make sure that, so that expression and what you are writing is bean has to be matched. And now if you see, without disturbing of customer bean, without disturbing of owner, and then without disturbing of client, I just only added a new advice called after returning advice. And then if I'm going to be run this, and it should be, I would expect to apply for all the methods which I'm been calling. So for all the methods of which I'm been calling, I would expect to apply this, the after returning advice. The after returning advice will be executed in when you can have a look at. So first, before advice is executed and method is started browsing, so the after return advice should be executed after return, right? Once your return is completed, then only it has to execute after return, because once after means once the logic is executed, then only we have to share the bill with customer, right? Means he has to, after completion execution, when he's returning the result back, see here it is applied to the employee who is carrying with the name. Employee does not carrying with the name, for him also we are showing, even for the student, even for owner also. See, only one place you are making a changes, it has been reflected in 4 different methods. So this is the way, the centralized way to control your all the bean classes using aspects. The aspect is not that simple concept, it's a very useful concept. You can avoid lot of duplication of code you can using AOP. But many people are not really realized of this concept, or they're not really known all the detail of this, so they will unnecessarily write a duplication of the code. If you really think that, okay, in your application, so these are all the different places I can apply AOP instead of writing a duplication of code in every place, so which you can effectively implement using AOP. See here, each and every method after execution of this we are able to apply or not, right? The same thing, just imagine the same thing. Okay, if we don't have any AOP, so what you have to do, and each and every client place where you are calling after that method, you have to call this method explicitly. You have to call this method explicitly, you have to call. But now without we calling anything explicitly, it is able to execute successfully. Okay, that is about after returning advice means. So when it will execute, the sequential order is the first before advice will be executed, next after advice will be executed, and then once the return of the result, the return is resulting back to that caller, so then so after returning will be executed. Okay, the important advice is, another important advice is called, again you are asking a question, what is the difference between after and after returning? Okay, it's those two are the self-explanatory keywords. Those two are the self-explanatory annotations. The after means the execution of the logic in the method, means the number of statements execution is called after. Whenever if you are using any written statements, or whenever if you are writing a written statement in the method, or if the method is exiting from that, okay, from that method, if the controller is exiting from that method, is called after returning advice. Whenever, okay, your control is exiting from this method, so on what all the different scenarios it can exit. So one is from using the return statement, other is if there is no return and void, so that's the exiting from that the last line it will exit from there, and these two scenarios it will call the after returning. The after means end of your statement execution, and after returning means once the control is returning back into the column. Does it answer your question, Ankur? Okay. So, and these okay advices are okay very transparent, but one of the advice, maybe people can get a little bit confusion on this, but however I'll try to make it very clear. Okay, have a look at. So the around advice is a little bit different than these advices. Okay, let me first of all include this around advice, and then so we'll start discuss. Around advice is also very simple advice. Okay, it's not such a complicated. Okay, so around advice. I'm sorry. Okay, I thought to inform to you people. Actually, I started a new Hibernate batch. Okay, if people are interested, please let me know. Okay, so you can join. So there is a new Hibernate batch has been started. We just completed a first session. If you are interested, so let me know. Okay, so moving on. So the around advice. So here is the around advice. So which I have written. Around advice means, so here we are not controlling any method, okay, anything explicitly, right? The around advice has the capability to control the method. Means the around advice means, so once the method is being started executing, so that first comes to this while starting the browsing of the internet, so then this around method will start executing. When you say join point dot proceed, the rest of method will execute, otherwise your method will not execute. So once the control is entered into the method, and then after that the control will comes to here, and then it will wait. It will wait until, okay, it's like similar to your before and similar to after. I mean, you can do the same thing. Suppose what I am doing is, before you start browsing of internet, so please remove the browser history which is been, okay, which might be did by the other clients, other customer might be okay used. Before you start your browsing, so clear the history, then start browse your internet. That's what I'm saying. Proceed. So once you have done your job, so please remove your browser history, then left from the cabin. Okay, that's what I simply did is, while browse, okay, so this will be around advice will be executed. Okay, so for around advice you need to pass a explicit parameter is proceed join point. Then whenever if you say proceed join point dot proceed only, then only it will execute, otherwise it will not execute. Around advice compulsory that you need to pass a one parameter, and that parameter name is proceed join point. So make sense? And then proceed join point dot proceed, when you say, then only it will execute, otherwise it will not. If you see here, okay, the very beautiful way this STS is been given. See, the symbols are how it is look like. The symbols before it is starting, after, okay, this is after returning symbol. So this is method executing. So the symbols how they have given the advisor symbol. So it is automatically detecting your STS, and then it is okay popping up as symbols. Okay. All right. So now let us run the client class. I don't need to make any changes again in anywhere. Only the advisors are my changes. Yes.
Shani, we are passing this argument. That's why it's able to judge that it's around advice after return or something, right?
No. It's not just we are because of passing this. It is just because of your annotation.
Annotations as well.
It's just because of annotation. Suppose, for example, if I have commented this annotation, have a look at the symbol is not.
It's gone.
Okay,
Right.
that's the practical proof. That's just because of your the annotation. So this is the syntax. Any method you can write, any method name, any return type, anything, but the signature of the around advice is compulsory that it should be carrying with the proceed join point is arguments. Okay, that's the rule for around advice.
And in the case of after and before advice also, we need to mention that those arguments, right? Join
No,
points.
okay, that is a very clear instruction, right? So because before method you want to hijack it, and after method so you want to hijack it. But here around means how do you know? Okay, which is around? So means while executing the method you want to capture it. So definitely, then that is the case. You should be having a control of that method execution. Then only you can around it. Otherwise you cannot around it. Does it make sense what I am trying to say?
Okay, right, right.
Okay. So now let us go to run as a clients.
So
Okay,
this
so
means
now see this.
that argument is not mandatory in the case of after and before.
Yes, yes, that's
And
correct.
join point
Only
only.
for that argument also what purpose we are using, because we want to say that I have hijacked whatever I want. Now start execution of your logic. So you start execution of your method. For in order to do that only you need that argument, because I have to confirm that because I'm in the around of your method, but before I want you to instruct, okay, I want to do whatever my job, and then once I'm done, I will confirm you that, so go ahead and do your job, and once you are done, and then let me know, I will do it again my job. So around is, I would say that it's a equivalent of your before and after advice, similarity. So like it is very much similar to a before and after advice. Okay, so now let me run this code. Okay, so see now how the execution order will be. Now after applying all the advices, have a look at, I'll maximize this, and then if you see, so the at very first is started is your before advice, sorry, around advice. So because the complete method itself is under control of around, whenever if we are around is there, so the useless of using the before advice, and useless of using the after advice, because it's exactly the controlling of same before and after advice. So that's what I said, it's a similarity of your before and after advice. Okay, so but however I have used both of them, so that's why first around advice, then before advice, then the execution of method, then again after so around advice is end, and then so after advice, after returning advice. So it has been applying for every method.
Sunil, hello.
Yes,
I mean, what if we don't use after and before advice and directly we use around advice?
yes, yes. If you don't want, okay, if you are using around advice, I would suggest you can simply avoid before and after. So if you are not going to be using around, I would you to encourage, go to then use those two methods. Use those two methods, so before and after. If you don't want to use around, you can use before and after advice. I don't want to around at all, but I don't want before and after. I want only after. So then you can use only after. But around you cannot do that. So only after you cannot do, only before you cannot do. Around means it will do check both of them. So before entering method, after entering the method, it will do both of them. It will check it. Okay, so the around means it controls the features of both after and before. And when it comes to the, so the advice is like before and after, there is no relation between like before and after.
So either use around or after or before.
Exactly, exactly. So generally we don't use in the real world all of them in one place, but as you are learning, I want to show you everything, so that's what I put everything here. Okay, so make sense.
Yes, Sunil.
Actually, only one line of the code is our business method logic, but how many lines is been generating? That's the beauty of AOP. Okay, so if you really realize and if you think about in a more virtuality way, the AOP is going to be reduce a lot of development efforts. Okay, if you perfectly configure in your application, if you have not configured properly in your application, that is also so big challenge when you are working with the AOP. Okay, you should understand perfectly according to that only you have to configure. If you misconfigured, because you don't see effect of your business logic, but you can see application can be maybe, so it can reduce the performance. Okay, it can degrade the performance of the AOP because of this. So you should be very careful while applying. Make sure that, because it won't apply the business logic, but it can de degrade the performance of the application. So you should be very careful while you are defining the expression, then so while you are using the AOP. Any questions?
Shri, means like what kind of question, interview question people are asking on this?
First, people ask you about very much. Okay, they will ask you what is aspect, what is join point. First, they will check you the definition of the AOP. Okay, if maybe a person can by head and they even he can answer saying that yes, maybe, then people will check whether this person knows the in-depth knowledge or not. They can check you. Can you give me an example, or can you give me a scenario where you have applied the AOP in real-time project? Okay, so maybe they can ask you not only from real time, so but they can also ask you, can you give me an example where AOP can be applied? Okay, then by giving you the example, whatever the example you are trying to explaining for them, so based on that, so they can determine whether this person has the depth knowledge of understanding the AOP or not, so they can easily judge. This makes sense
Because
what I'm saying?
yeah, right. And because this thing AOP is used for only transactions and the logs, right?
Exactly. So mostly the majority of the situation will be used in a transaction point of view, mostly in logging aspects, the majority of the cases, and also not, it's not a day-to-day usage also. It's just all like one-time configuration in your application. So other cases, other example also I gave you, suppose not only from that. So wherever, okay, the repeated work, suppose in my application we are using uh, the one of the place, like as I said, in the real world, every table in the database is going to be contains the 4 audit columns. It's not just only ID, employee, first name, last name, and middle name and address. Okay, it can also contains like so created by, and created date, updated by, last updated by, and last updated date. So if you see, these are all the 4 columns for every table that is available in the database, and this table also can contain the same columns, this table also, because we want to check each and every record, who has created this record, when the date is, who is updated last, and so when was the last updated date. So basically that's a duplication of code. Whenever if I'm saving every record, every object or every entity which I'm saving, you make sure that I need to set 4 values every time. And so instead of doing that, what we did is we have configured in AOP. Okay, so whenever any object is going to be saving before, the AOP will hijack that, okay, the entity. Then what we will do, we will set all these 4 columns, then so we will allow them to save it. So what we have used, so whenever the before save, whenever the save method is being calling, we are hijacking that method, and then so we are applying this. So we are setting off all these 4 columns values, then we are saving it. So you don't need to do for each and every entity like that. So what we are doing, it's a generalized code, and whichever the entity is coming, so we want to set these 4 audit columns. So we have defined a base entity called audit, and each and every audit is going to be extending by the respective entity class. Suppose if it is employee, employee is an entity class which extends with the audit entity. And what we will do, we will set the data to audit entity, it will automatically sets to employee. If it is a department, so the department is also extends the audit. So we will set the data to audit, so it will automatically sets the department, like that. It's a wherever if you say a common code, which is common code, you are across the application, you are making a duplication, or you are unnecessarily making it a repeat, the things can be controlled using AOP. Okay, so we will see the one more logging example, maybe part of the final example. So that is the ORM example. So ORM, so I will also try to show you the logging examples. So as part of there, so far we are familiar with the playing with the XML version of the AOP. So what I will do, we will try to play with the XML version of the configuration, and exactly the same, there is no difference, but only thing is here we are representing in annotation world, and there we will be trying to represent so using the XML world. So XML world, how you are going to be representing, and how the loggers are going to be configuring, how the log file and how the aspect will be configured, which I'll try to show you in our final example, probably would be a next session. So I'll try to show you that. Okay, any questions, any doubt? Are you following me, everybody? Prashanti, Ankur. Okay.
Shin, hello.
Yeah.
Can you share recording session for 25th and 28th of this August?
I think I shared you yesterday, no?
No, yesterday I didn't receive an email.
Yesterday I have emailed. Did you get a chance to look at what is missed? Uh, everybody is missing or only you?
No, I have not received an email even yesterday.
Okay, how about others, please?
I mean, the last email which I received is on September 1st.
Okay, on September 1st. Okay. Yesterday I have emailed you.
No, I have
Just
not
check
got it.
one minute. Let me check my. Yesterday I no, no. Okay, I will email you. Maybe you can just WhatsApp me, Amit. So probably what
Sure,
all
sure,
the conversations which are missing, and then I will use it the same.
sure,
Okay.
sure. Yeah.
All right. So sounds good. So okay, probably the next session will be more about ORM, and we'll see if we are able to cover everything in the next session. So that would be a last session of ours. So otherwise, maybe there will be one more session. Okay. All right. So have a good day to all of you, and see you on the next session. And bye bye.
Means can you give some basic ideas about some this security and rest and few more things which is
Okay. Maybe you can remind me. Okay, after completion of the session. So if we get some time, and then we will try to. I will try to introduce about Spring Boot, Spring Security. Okay, we'll try to
Yeah,
discuss.
Spring Boot is important. Yeah.
yes, Spring
Yeah,
Boot means like
maybe.
couple of sessions
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah. I can give a small introduction, but not into the detail because that is again a very big subject.
Yeah.
I don't know, but we will see. I even thought to have arranged a separate session on Spring Security. spring boots. Okay, so these two are like a very important concept. So maybe let me see to the stuff. If any people are coming, a batch is coming, we will try to post a separate batch. Okay. And also maybe okay, if your friends or you people are interested or someone else, so please also recommend. For there is one more session which is hibernate is going to start, and then after the hibernate we'll be starting again spring framework, then followed by we have web services. If you have anybody from of your circle, please do refer.
Srini, what is the timing for this Hibernate batch?
Hibernate is before yours, so that is at 7 a.m. IST.
Okay. Okay, Srini.
Okay. Right. So have a good day to all of you. See you on the next session, and bye bye.
Thank you, Srini.